flexible to adapt the change and still sustain ourselves, still basically enable us so as to we can survive for the future. So it is both ways. On one side, we should have sufficient resistance, sufficient ability to overcome whatever is external coming to us. I will give, for an example, an illustration. If we say, for an example, like on the borders, so the first thing what basically our defense people will do, if obviously if there is an enemy on the other side, we will basically try to resist. We will try to ensure that they don't basically infiltrate on our side. For sure, that will be. So there will definitely be the resistance. Hypothetically, in case, still if they come in, then we obviously need to have a mechanism that how we can still eliminate them. We cannot say that we cannot now adapt to the situation what it has come. And why I am highlighting this, it is very, very important because if you recollect 2020, COVID, and it really changed the index. Huh? So life before COVID, life after COVID, if you ask anybody, they will have many more stories to tell. So whatever we used to say, I mean prior to 2020, post 2020, those things are actually undergoing a big shift and a big change. And I can tell you, I mean, in fact 2020 was the first World Sustainability Engineering Day. And I was here, in fact, just before the COVID, I only gave the first talk. It was the first globally celebrated World Engineering Day. And I gave a talk here. And I can tell you the illustration is what at that time I had. And today, there is also a shift. But what is important, I mean, as I am highlighting here, why we are talking about the resilient world and the engineering innovation? Because we need to remember that in this globally connected world, it is very, very important. Not only we take care for ourselves, or we remain basically aware, but we also need to ensure that we take care for the neighbors, I mean our surroundings. And if we say, okay, me and my surrounding, that is not enough. Even we need to be, I mean, aware whatever is happening thousands of miles away. If you just take, I mean, on a very lighter side, if you are not sneezing, definitely you can say that you are healthy. But you also need to take care that the person who is sitting adjoining to you, he is not an infected one, possibly. And therefore, you need to take care, basically, take care for him too. And even if you don't worry for them, you know how the COVID spread. It was something somewhere in the remote corner in some other part of the globe, and how it got a particular effect and it reached to you or to our society. Same, I mean, this is very much applicable. I mean, if you take, I mean, this last February, we had just 1 year of this war in Ukraine. If everybody says it was between Russia and Ukraine, it didn't affect me, it is not the case. If you possibly see your own individual household, આપણા બધાના ઘરોમાં કુકિંગ ગેસનો જે ભાવ છે એ યુક્રેન વોર પહેલા ને પછીમાં ડબલ થઈ ગયો. So in case if you are saying my bill is actually, I mean I have reduced my consumption, કે મારું જે consumption છે એ ઘટાડી છે પણ મારું bill વધારે આવે છે. It is actually some war happening in some part of the world and still it affects. So what my point is that in this connected world, we need to take care for all this. And how we face this crisis and challenges in this complex world. It is here that basically that engineers have a role because we create engineering solutions, we design infrastructure, machines and all the things which finally translates basically all whatever we see is in terms of an advancement of the science or the other benefits. And that is where the engineering innovation plays a central role for a more resilient world. So it is very, very important. See, people don't talk about, I mean, World Engineering Day for the doctors or World this day for commerce graduates or for, I mean, business administrator people. Why they talk about engineers? That there is also a significance and a message. I will come to, in fact, the logo of it, but let me just quickly. This is just a glimpse of what kind of engineering achievements we had basically over a period of time from our country. Huh? This is more a country specific. It was basically brought from the Indian National Academy of Engineering, I mean the book, which has a full detail, but I just thought, let me share a few glimpses of it. That how I mean, over a period of time, we have got various engineering achievements. So this is already, I mean, to our credit. So while these engineering achievements are there, obviously there is one more aspect, because today is World Engineering Day for Sustainable Development. So we are talking about sustainable development, and therefore we need to understand what is sustainable development. Sustainable development is also a very important thing, because it is important that we need to understand some definition, that while we meet the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generation to meet their own needs. So it is saying that obviously if I have some natural resource, I am going to consume those resources, that is fine. But I cannot be so basically a kind of selfish that I consume and then I don't leave anything for the future generation. So it may be in terms of natural resources, it may be in terms of even the groundwater resources. Just take for an example drinking water. I cannot be, so selfish that not only I drink the water, or have a potable water, whatever is required for my use, but I cannot waste the water. Because there are many across the world who still don't have a good drinkable water. And imagine, see our earth globe, that size is not increasing, that land is not increasing, but population is increasing. So each and every passing day, the newer generation and the higher growth population will still depend on the same resources which today we are using. So it is as good as saying that if you had this food, then this food was consumed by 100 crore people, tomorrow also still you have the same land, but there may be 150 crore people to consume that food or have that water. So our resources are not getting multiplied, and therefore we have to be very careful that what we are going to consume, we don't make a selfish use, because we need to also ensure that our future generation, they can meet their own needs. This just reminds me, I'm sure you may be reading this, I have a couple of images, but this is linked with just the sustainable development. So maybe for the interest you may follow it. But what is also important, is that these two parts, what I already highlighted, that needs is a very important part, and at the same time we need to ensure that we don't compromise, the future for the sake of today. And that is where it is very important that the needs of present generation, needs of future generation needs a careful balance. We should not basically use a high-handedness that today I have a power and let me make use of it. Let me basically consume it. Why I should worry about tomorrow? That is not going to work. In fact, the most powerful also possibly tomorrow can see altogether a kind of a different reversal. So same is true for us, for our new new generations, whatever are going to come. So whether our children, they also need the same resources. So we need to basically take care for that too. And it is here, actually, I will like to highlight that this balance is very important, and we need to take care of it. So our improvement of lifestyles for sure is important. We should improve our lifestyles. We should definitely graduate in a better living conditions. But while doing this, we need to preserve our natural resources and ecosystem, because they are not going to increase. They are still going to remain the same. And therefore, sustainable development, when we talk about, it talks about a balance, so that our present need should not become a greed, and we should be basically preserving these systems. And it is here, in this context, basically, I will like to just come to one quick illustration. Although there are many illustrations for sustainable development, but one quick illustration for the sustainable development is the climate change. Because that's what I started with couple of, I will say, the today's news clippings, even in the daily newspaper. So we said Vadodara will reach 38 degree, or it has already reached, at the start of March. So just imagine, by the time you are in April, you will be definitely crossing basically somewhere between 40 to 45, and by May, at the peak of the summer, we will be definitely seeing that we are somewhere on the threshold of 45 plus. That is for sure. But then this climate change concern is not only that it is restricted to, to India or to specific geography. It is across the globe. And what really it means, it is just one illustration that we are already seeing all these impacts. So basically, seawater rising, in case if you would have been following the newspaper, you will have also found, Mumbai ma Daryo, 1 centimeter shift height basically is rising. So there is a feeling, I mean, 100 years from now, maybe the houses or the establishment what we have on the periphery of the sea may not be same, good enough for the individuals who may be occupying it. So, those kind of rising sea levels, more extreme weather, we already see the shift. In fact, we never started the AC, in the month of February. But this time, already I saw that there were many households which felt the need that we need to turn on the AC. But what really again it means is that you have all these challenges, and then there are a lot of greenhouse gases are also getting released in the atmosphere because of the human activities. So whatever the vehicles we make use of, we consume the oil, and then obviously there is a visible pollution and there is also an invisible pollution. And all these things basically plays a very important role in shifting the ecological balance. And it is in this context, I am just using this as an illustration for a sustainable development. But just imagine that what really it creates. When you have this shift, it also creates many more challenges. For an example, if you have more emissions, more basically this kind of an environmental shift, what it will mean? That you will demand more energy. You will make your ACs on for now longer duration or for a larger part. So it means you will consume more electricity. If you consume more electricity, indirectly in today's context, for sure the things are changing. But in today's context, we get thermal power plants and all. So you will demand more and more electricity from those plants. It will mean you will have more and more of the coal and basically those ashes there. So it is a kind of a positive feedback effect. You demand more, you create more, and then you also create more ashes in the environment, which again raises the temperature. So it is like a positive cycle, maybe simply on the water and the other fronts. But what is important is that what we need to know is that 80% of the world carbon dioxide emissions are linked to the production and consumption of energy. So this is 80% of it. It is linked with it. And therefore, we need to ensure that this fossil base has to basically undergo a shift. And that's basically where we are talking about renewables. But when we are talking about this shift, this is also, this kind of a graphic. Somehow you definitely will find an interest that over this last, journey of the electricity and these 100 years, I try to pull the illustration from the energy sector because I see this, I am also from that sector, but I also see this is basically a major driver. So I use that illustration, but in these 100 years, if you take, this is what the kind of the emissions we have created. And now it is basically the need of the hour that having reached this peak, we need to fall down. We need to reduce those emissions, and therefore we need to have a greener journey for the future. And that is where the aspect of the sustainable development also comes in. I am not touching on a couple of these definitions, but it is also linked with the soil and all, where it is important that we cannot, afford to lose the fertility in the soil. We see many times we talk about organic farming, organic food. Unfortunately, in order to get a higher yield, higher basically output, we many times use so much of fertilizer, so much of the chemicals. We may get temporarily a bigger fruit and a higher yield, but that may also steal and create a situation where the soil is losing the fertility. So over a period of time, basically it may be just losing the nutrients, and then maybe you may not get the outputs what really you wanted. You may feel that you have got a bigger apple, but you may not find that juice, that flavor, that taste. So it is very important. Therefore, this land use change, these are all important terms actually linked with that. And obviously, if you have any questions, please prompt me. But let me just still touch on one more thing, because this is where our Prime Minister also has made a global commitment. So this is where our India also stands basically, and where we say that okay, even though we had the fossil fuel based most of the generation, by 2030 we should have basically almost 50% share from the renewable. Why it is significant? It will also help in reducing the emissions by 1 billion tons. Although all the developed countries will be reaching this net zero, so if you take the developed countries, so a couple of the countries of Europe, US and all, they are talking about 2050. India, we are saying net zero carbon by 2070. So what net zero carbon means? You will see this terminology, it is all linked with each one of us. Net zero carbon means whatever is there today, I will not add anything more. So at least I am able to sustain what is there. I can definitely reduce. So if the demand comes more, I will find ways that how I reduce my current, basically you can say the emissions generation, supplement it with the newer technology so that overall still I don't add anything extra. So it is like saying if I have 100 rupee budget, I manage everything, my increased needs and the expenditure from the same 100 rupee budget and not to basically cross that threshold. So this is very, very important. That is basically net zero carbon. So no more additional carbon dioxide emissions. I mean beyond this, and that is what we say 20, by 2070 we will reach that. So then onwards, whatever we do, it will be more or less the same. And this in the global map, if you see, India sits and I mean fourth. But per head we are small because of our population. So we don't see that significance. But as a country, actually, if you say how much we are making the emissions, then we are actually on the top four category. So it is also very, very important that this is a very, very significant thing. And it is actually in this backdrop that the UN came out with basically sustainable goals. So there are these 17 sustainable goals. Each goal, possibly from the first look, all of us will think this is not for me. It is for some policy maker. So it is something to be discussed in the assembly hall or in the by the parliament, or it has to be taken care by only the United Nations and all. But we will see each one of them and we will try to relate that how engineering is going to play a role. And when we say we are all the engineers, even if we are not qualified engineer, and maybe just hypothetically any of us, we have engineering basically skills, engineering orientation, engineering knowledge. Yes, please, please.
In the previous slide, you showed that China is limiting maximum. And then currently we are planning for becoming a manufacturing hub for the world.
Yes.
And we have projects like Make in India and
Correct.
Honorable Prime Minister is also expecting international manufacturing units to our country.
Correct.
So what do you feel that if we are bringing more people to our country and we are going to become the manufacturing hub, how will we be able to meet that 2070 criteria what you said right now?
So what you said is absolutely true. I mean, as a question, if we see from the common marks, but like for me also, I also work in an industry, for an example. So let me say, if I take my industry, if I am in this industry, so then it answers your question. We have our targets. So whatever we had in 2019, by 2030, we will also practically hit across the globe and also in India. So I will use some illustration from my own organization. For an example, if I take ABB, at the moment in the country, whatever we have like 6 manufacturing locations, major manufacturing, all are green certified, IGBC gold basically certification. What does it mean? Everywhere we make use of full renewable energy. So we are not basically dependent for our office to take the electricity from the grid. So yesterday we were taking, today we are not taking. So we are trying to reduce basically our this. So maybe some new industry comes up, it will help in creating that. This is just one. If I take my own premises for an example, we use full water recycling. So whatever water basically we use in our washrooms and all, it finally goes for basically the garden and for the next day. So not, I mean, potable water or fresh water which actually gets consumed. So it is a full recycling. In terms of a waste, we fully recycle. So what I mean is that same kind of targets, actually not my only company, all global organizations are actually following. So this is first and a major positive change which is happening. Similarly, if I just say that all this I was saying at an organization level, then what it comes even at each and every employee level. For an example, in my premises, if you come organization premises, you will not find this kind of water. We don't basically have the plastic bottles. If you have to drink the water, either you have basically a steel or that jar, you fill in it and consume it. If you are a guest at my factory, then you may have steel glass water or and then you will be given that water. But no plastic bottles. I'm just saying like this, there is a series of illustrations. So existing organizations, we are trying to see that their demand towards the nature, towards basically you can say the public is for. There may be some organizations who still may come up, they may have higher demand. but overall balance still will be maintained. So government is also basically trying to create some incentives in terms of basically these promotions, certifications, awards. So these are all basically a part of that ecosystem. So I still see it is very much achievable. Obviously, this session is also one of that attempt, let me say like this, to create an awareness. બધા જેટલું જાણે કદાચ એમાંથી at the end, I mean, 8 વાગે જ્યારે આપણે છૂટા પડીએ, that if you find there are one or two inputs, what possibly I would have shared during the day, if you feel you can take it as a part of your daily life, we ourselves will create a contribution from there. I mean, the I fraternity as a. So this is what I will say. So at 8, you can still remind that yes, how we will be taking a pledge or taking a call, how we can reduce so that our skill objective is not compromised. So that's basically it. I hope it answers. Huh? Yeah. Okay. So these are the 17 sustainable goals. What I am going to do is I am going to dwell on each goals, but my intention for sure is to stop at 8. So wherever you have interest, please pull me. There are many illustrations. I can go on this topic for tomorrow till tomorrow morning. So it is for me the time is not just me. For me, your time is much more valuable to see that none of you get basically blocked. And you have the dinner also and praying at the right time. It is also an important part of sustainable society. That is also a very important element. So let's just go further. Let's keep moving. So this World Engineering Day and this logo. So why I wanted to say I want to quickly touch on this logo also of the World Engineering Day has a very important message. First of all, it has 17 colors. And these are all the 17 colors what we saw from the United Nations. So all those 17 goals, no poverty, energy basically neutral and all, innovation, smart cities, everything, all those basically are integrated. But you see 17 colors. So just I use this opportunity for the colors to wish you all a happy Holi in advance.
Same to you.
Colors of life. When I say colors of life, I also would like to remind that we are talking about sustainable development, and when we take a sustainable development, our holy celebration also should be sustainable. We should not basically cut the trees, but make use of whatever basically is still natural and still, I mean, follow our religious basically beliefs, but don't actually create a damage to the nature. And when it comes to the colors, again I will say let's follow the natural colors. Let's not consume those artificial colors where you will again make use of lot of good drinking water to clean yourself. So let's avoid it. That's a small thing which we all can do, and it is still going to make a big change, because I can show you the statistics that even if you can basically save 1 glass of water, it at the end counts basically in reducing a small fraction of carbon dioxide. So this is basically the thing. So I just use this opportunity to say happy Holi and still do it in a natural way. But this logo, what I was touching about, logo has all those basically goals, and this center ones basically, if you see, these are linked with those energy, with the basically infrastructure, water. So this blue is water, energy, like this. So each color actually represents it, and what really it says is that all these basically areas, this is basically the goal for the engineering education as the center. Because world needs more engineers with the right engineering skills for sustainable development. I'm using skills and putting an emphasis, right engineering skills. I started with one clip from the Gujarat Samachar where I said that skills are missing, or you need to develop a skilled society. So we may have, I mean, thousands of engineers passing out from various colleges, but whether they have correct skills, whether they have correct understanding, whether they correctly have followed the curriculum and understanding. So that is why, but world still needs more engineers in this right engineering skills for sustainable development. And what is still more important, you see this here, I mean, that is what is incorporated in the logo, which says that, and this is basically a flow, so that engineers are driving the world forward, and that engineering is essential for sustainable development. It is not my words. It is the words from the UNESCO. So it is none of this text actually I have edited. It is a text globally. I mean, all the engineers will read the same text. And why? Because engineers are driving the world. So entire globe, if you see, it is driven by the engineers. So as I started and said, you will not hear the medical. There is this famous joke. I think sometime I have also shared, but just for the benefit and just to say with the audience. We say, doctor, his income, his financial strength grows when there is a more of calamity. There may be a COVID thing, there may be some other thing. So when the society is in a depression state, the health are, reducing, deteriorating, a doctor may be getting prosperous. You may find a basically a advocate or a legal person, he may be getting prospered, but there are more criminalities and more of, say the ethical violations, and that is where they get prospered. But when the engineer gets prospered, when the nation is getting prosperity, when we basically construct, we create the infrastructure. And that is why the engineers are actually the prime mover for the world, and we actually are celebrating the World Engineering Day. Just let me also say, this is a World Engineering Day. Engineers Day, National Engineers Day is still celebrated in September, but that is Engineers Day, where you can say it is still linked with an individual of us. This is engineering, it's complete community. There is no bifurcation, there is no division. It is basically civil, mechanical, it's all are finally the engineers. We all make one single engineering community, and that's what we are celebrating. But there is a significance for engineering for sustainable development. So let's just see a couple of these key things, which are actually from the United Nations website. But you will find that what they are seeing from the point of view of an engineering fraternity. There are many challenges, and you will find, first of all, you can read all, but here I will like to emphasize. We are still observing a decline of interest and enrollment in engineering by young people, especially women. This is a fact, and it is not linked only with India. Again, I am repeating, I have not edited any word. So if you go to the UNESCO, this website, this is the website link actually UNESCO, you will find the same text. So this is a challenge. Again, we need to address gender segregation in engineering and ensure basically how we are going to take care of. So not only this, there are many aspects coming towards the engineers. Again, let me use the time and quickly basically put all. Basically, you will see innovation in engineering is necessary. This is again one of the very important aspects, and if we don't address this, possibly we may only end up with the stories of monkey and cap sailor, and obviously I don't use that illustration now, but there may be else. If you try to do the same thing, sometimes a monkey can come and slap us that don't tell us the story. I have also heard the same story and I am taking your care. So it can happen like us. And poverty in all its forms from everywhere. And why we will say like this? Let me not read it, but at least more than 700 million people still live in extreme poverty. This is a fact, across the globe. And how engineers can bring those change? This is what I have just highlighted. So these are basically the innovations, and how we can try to ensure that we ensure the food, hunger, as well as the sanitation, for an example. As an engineer, if we do it, we can still do it change at a very micro level, and it can create a much more bigger impact. And in case you find basically reading the text as an issue, then let me just give some visual examples. How we can do this change as an engineer? We can ensure basically let's educate, let's move from the illiteracy to the literacy. We can definitely play a role. We can definitely educate the society, each and every member, whether they are skilled or not. Making them aware itself is a good thing, whether it is a village or basically urban. We can ensure that how these cottage industries, small, नाना ग्रुप है वो गाना अपन होय, अगर कोई skill होय, and that's what we have done too, linking them to the e-commerce and then giving them the global platform. So we as an engineer can really bring this difference. And this is what we are doing also, So you see this illustration, the first was a wishful thinking, second is what we are already doing as a reality. So we really contribute for the poverty. Second is basically and hunger. So it is basically the food and the food security. Again, why it is important? Obviously, the food is very, very critical thing, but at least we can create the awareness. Waste food and support local farmers. This is very, very important, because if we will not support, obviously the same farmers and their basically you can say the generations may not be keen to go back to the same farming. They may find that it is better to use that land for some multi-story construction and make a very fast money. At least so their generation will survive for sure. But maybe the future generation may still end up in a challenge. So maybe, as I was saying, land is definitely limited. And if you can just imagine, the population is to grow, but the land is limited, and then the output obviously will further swing. Then it will be a further challenge, and therefore there are some more illustrations. So as an engineers, we can do all this kind of good engineering constructs also. So what you are seeing here, this drone is actually changing the landscape in the agriculture. I have a couple of my friends from the, I will say, the agriculture engineering industries in the Indian National Academy, and recently we have been discussing. That for an example, I will give you a live illustration. You can read things and all, but let me give you a live illustration. We always hear, I mean, in the month of December, January, February, very severe pollution. What is the reason? The agriculture basically these residues. Farmers find it easy to burn them so that they can remove them and then use the land for the subsequent new crops. Why? Because they find that how to remove them and then accumulate them. We can remove those grass